This is spectator, and this is target. We will be shooting a projectile out of this artillery piece today, so everybody has to be in a good and proper safety spot.
You think?
All right, folks, I'm going to welcome you to Fort Benton State Park on our cannon firing day to our next explore and last cannon firing. Still got a few minutes, but I'm going to go ahead and yak for a few things right now. Anyway, so I hope you enjoy these cannon days that we have here. We have one cannon weekend left, and that'll be Labor Day weekend Saturday. Up through the end of August, we do have what we call evening gun on Wednesdays that go on. So right now, we're going to get ready to see the artillery piece you see inside here. At the last firing a day will be the 8-inch up on top of the wall. It's one of the...
What does it mean by because I could?
Once we pick those up, I am confident that we will be firing 11 guns next New Year's. We get real excited about here because I don't know any other forts in the United States that can bring in New Year's without guns. The crazy thing about North Carolina, the parks are free. It doesn't cost anything. It is a pain in the butt sometimes to try to get a parking spot, especially when it's in programs. But it's free to the public and everybody comes in. The cannons, however, the state does not provide funding for cannons at all during that thing. That's that's on contingent with donations and everything that when people come in. We get over 1 million visitors per year here. We always joke if everybody brings in $1, we'll be able to rearm the fort in no time at all. But that doesn't happen. People come down here and enjoy themselves. Some go to the bathhouse, never even come down here and even realize there's a fort here. They'll go fishing out on the beach and not realize the fort. Seven will be coming out with another one. So I know that for sure. All right, anyway, so we're going to be ready to get started with the program. Next program we're going to see is folks who are going to stay around here at the seed one. It's usually a 10-inch ball that would weigh 88 pounds. You would put, I can open you a spot very easily. Because when that ball comes down, it fragments into 12 to 20 pieces and stuff like that. There's actually a fuse that you use to ignite it. It's, a lot of people think in different ways and stuff, but it's a wood fuse filled with a gunpowder alcohol composition that makes it burn smoothly. This one happens to be a 5-second per inch fuse. There's marks on here. I can look at that and say, yeah, it's 5 seconds per inch. But this is the Army. The Army makes it much more easier for us. They put a label on it that says 5 seconds per inch. Go figure, right? All right, mortars are fired differently than you see the cannons on top, the line of sight in the mortars. The line of sight cannons. You see a target, you aim at it, you shoot it. Mortars cannot see. Oh, fall inside the fort! Well, yeah, kind of, sort of, kind of thing. Because actually, I designed another ball that we shoot out of the mortar. This ball is named Mr. Wilson. Mr. Wilson weighs about 6 pounds, and I don't need 4.5 or 4 pounds of black powder to send him off. It makes it much more easier for that. So you can see Mr. Wilson over there doing his thing. All right, so anyway, we're going to get ready, and we're going to begin the program here in a second. We're trying to figure that out. Hot potato. They're like, the old people know that. And the young kids are like, what do you mean hot potato? Hey, I bring up William telling the apple on top of their head, and that confuses a lot of people nowadays. All right, anyway, so we're going to get ready to get started here. So the first thing you do when you have a mortar down here and you have to figure out where the enemy is, like I pointed up there, you've got a pointing stake. You see a little stake up there, a flag on the enemy is in that direction. So we have to go ahead and set up a series of pointing stakes. And the command of that will be plant the pointing stake. So what happens here, the 1-2 man will go forward with stakes in the mat. We're going to go to the rear of the piece. When the gunner goes to the rear of the piece, he's going to correct. The 1-2 man will place the stake in front of the mortar. That will be aligned with the stake up on top of the fork. Once it's there, they will drive that in place, and then they will carry another stake behind the mortar and hand it to the gunner, and he'll line it up with the stake in front of the mortar and the one up on top of the fork. When that's driven in, they'll take a third stake, and they'll put that behind the mortar over on the right side, and more behind your position, so it'll actually be to the right there, right on the mortar. That's used to hold the wiping cloth. That's used in the loading of the mortar. Once that's together and everything like that, they'll bring the mallet back, give it to the gunner, he'll put it in the basket. All the tools are kept inside a basket, very easy, and you can see where everything is. Once that's done, the gunner's going to hand out the implements, and the command take it, and this is going to hand out a 2 pouches of fruit. Inside the 2 pouches of lanyard, friction primers, and a primer wire. He will hand out a set of sleeves to the number 1 man. These are made of flannel. These are so that when the one reaches inside the mortar, it doesn't spark or anything. Last thing we want to have is static electricity. He will give a gunner's haversack out to the number 4 man. Procedure. So, on the loading procedure, we're going to go ahead. Now, this is everything's going to happen. He's going to give the command of load. On the command load, the 2 and 4 man will go to the rear to pick up Mr. Wilson. The 1 man will grab his wiping cloth. The gunner will go to the basket, pick up a spoon and scraper. The gunner will go back with a spoon and scraper, try to go anything. The one will go behind him with the wiping cloth to get everything out of there. The number 3 man will punch the vent, and he will wipe off the platform to make sure there's no powder, any residual left over from the firing before. The gunner has a pointing cord that he brought up during the take out the implements, and he will then go back to the mortar. He's going back to the mortar, and what's going to happen here is you're going to have the 2 and 4 man go between the mortar and the gunner. When he goes between mortar and the gunner's going to reach into the number 4 haversack and pull out the powder. When he gets the powder, he's going to pour that into the muzzle of the mortar. These are loaded differently than the other ones. The other ones have a bag or something. This is actually laid into the mortar. Once it's laid and spread out in the proper way, he is then going to grab a piece of aluminum foil he's got behind there. The aluminum foil is not part of the original drill. The aluminum foil is there to protect Mr. Wilson for continuing firing. We're like whistle number 7 now over the last 10, 12 years that we've been doing this. So we've been really doing real well with this. Once that's put in, Mr. Wilson will be pushed down to the breech to be ready to be fired. Avoid the fuse pointing outward. Of course, there's not a fuse in there, but the fuse outward because it is the flame coming out of the mortar that ignites the fuse. There's no fuse or anything else that works that way. Then you will notice that the number 4 man will pick up the pointing cord. He'll go to the rear of the mortar and hand it to the gunner, who's going to use that in the aiming part of the loading procedure. There's a lot of stuff goes on here, you know. A field piece, like that 6-pounder up in there, you can fire that about 3 times a minute. The cannon up on top of the wall is about 7 times a minute, and the mortar's about 12 times an hour when you're firing. All right, once he gets that, the gunner's going to drape that over the pointing a stake behind the mortar, lining it up with the pointing stake in the front with the one on top. Now where he made that mark is where he's going to move the mortar to, and then he'll know that's in the proper position. Good. All right, once everything is good, he's going to give the command of, ready. On the command ready, the 1, 2, and 4 man will go to the rear of the mortar. The number 3 man will take out the lanyard, affix it to the friction primer, and the gunner will go back and pick up something called a pointing, or a deflection board. The deflection board is not part of the original mortar. It's side stick, please. You are in the target area. All right, thanks. Okay, I'm very safety conscious. I look at everybody and make sure everybody's in the right spots. Like that. All right, so he's going to go ahead. We're going to set the friction primer. The board's going to go in. The number 3 man's going to go in position. The gunner's going to go in position. And then what I am looking at next is to make sure that our field of fire is free and clear. And I'm going to look up at my lookout at the top, and he's going to give me a thumb up when we know it's clear over there. All right, I got thumbs up here. I'm going to do one more thing to make sure they got everything blocked. I am going to get out of the way. Folks, when I give the command, Mr. Wilson will hurl himself about 300, 350 feet in the air and drop over to the other side of the wall if everything works out. And that's all there is to it. So when we ask you, how do you shoot a 10-inch 6-mortar? You know how it's done. And everything like that. All right, folks, remember, at 3:30 will be the 8-inch. Other than that, we have to Fort Macon State Park. Myself and all the volunteers, if you like to challenge points up to visit next. I thank you very much for coming by today. Thank you.
Boys, I don't like these days.
You're sorry.
I'm going down. Guys, can I go down now? Yeah. They need to put some railings.
Teacher.
I'm involved. Yeah. Did you see the cat? Oh. Does the ice?
Yeah, I think that I've never been.
Yeah, we're gonna go look in the rooms first and then we're gonna go to the room.
real.
It was. It was real gunpowder.